Welcome into another edition of the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It's great to be here with all of you on Wednesday, September 16, 2020. It was a bit of a chilly night for all of us. It dropped down in the 40s, as always, joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony. Gavin, it is great to have you on here. I know we're still getting our links shared out across so everybody can get on and watch it, so that's why we're a little preoccupied here before we get started. But, Gavin, how are you doing today?
I don't know what hurts worse. Ladies and gentlemen, the fact I was up all night coughing or the fact that the Clippers lost. I'm more towards the Clippers loss. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, my chest hurts. It's all allergies. Allergy season's here, Zach. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to power through this one, but how are you doing?
I'm really excited to be here. We got a lot going on in the basketball world. So we had no football yesterday, so it felt kind of like a nice fresh breath there, getting back to basketball, talking about it, of course. But I'm happy. I'm happy for a couple of reasons. First of all, I mean, yeah, we know the Lakers probably have an easier path to the finals now, but you know what happens, nothing that you can control there. But I got something else to talk about. And so yesterday, Kendrick Perkins tweeted this. We read it. People have been comparing Kawhi Leonard to Michael Jordan an awful lot. And so, again, like everybody knows my stance on the GOAT conversation. For those who may not know the full story, I do believe that Michael Jordan is the GOAT, but LeBron will surpass him. That's my belief. Gavin, on the other hand, doesn't believe that he will surpass him. And I've given my reasons. He's won with different coaches, things like that. Kawhi Leonard's won with different coaches, East and the West. You know, he's 2 for 3 in the finals. He got eliminated last night in Game 7. Gavin, your argument, Michael Jordan's never been to a Game 7. I don't know how you feel on this, and I'll ask you in just a minute about your thoughts on Kawhi Leonard possibly one day entering the GOAT conversation. But if there's any chance of that, it ends today and the conversation stops. All right, the title of today's show, Don't Ever Compare Kawhi to Jordan. Don't even compare him to LeBron. And Gavin, I don't know your thoughts on this. Yeah, Kawhi's a better defender. Yeah, he can be more clutch. He didn't look so clutch last night. He was horrible last night. 6 for 22, I think. In Game 7, really? First of all, you go to a Game 7, you lose a 3-1 lead. LeBron's Game 7s are when he's coming back from a 3-1 lead against the Golden State Warriors, most notably. Again, he played the Pacers in a series that was pretty well evenly matched, same with the Boston Celtics a few years ago. But he wins them, right? Like, here's what I don't understand, right? Here's what I don't get. You can't compare him to Michael Jordan. On top of all that, you can't even compare him to LeBron James. Because Kawhi didn't put his team on his back last night. He had a lot of really good role players, and it was distinctively obvious with Toronto's success this year that it wasn't just Kawhi last year. He had guys knocking down shots. Without Fred VanVleet, they don't even go to the NBA Finals, in my opinion. Honestly, I don't think so. Sure as heck, Kawhi had a great series. He beat a Kevin Durant-less Golden State Warriors, which are beatable, right? And Gavin, I know you might think a little different on this, but we know they're not as dominant as they were with KD, or even when they had another small forward there in Barnes a few years before when they actually won and went 73-9. I mean, like, this is an honest conversation. This is crazy. People are comparing him. Like, Kendrick Perkins yesterday really tweeted Kawhi, parentheses, Jordan. Really? Like, that's not how it should work. You can't even compare him to LeBron James. All right? And I'm sorry to keep bringing LeBron into this because, you know, the reality situation is that, again, Gavin, you think Michael Jordan's a GOAT. A lot of people think that. I understand the thought process. But people are calling him the best player in the world right now. First of all, that might arguably belong to a healthy KD. All right? But today, LeBron James is the best player in the world. He's in his 17th season. You can't deny success. Gavin, he took down 2 really good teams. A motivated Damian Lillard and a differently shaped, which gave a lot of teams trouble, Houston Rockets. Both series he loses in Game 1. Some adversity, some guys struggle, and all of a sudden he comes out, he wins 4 straight against both of those teams. All right? He defended James Harden well in that series. I know everybody's knocking him for his defense. It's his 17th year. All right. And arguably, he's on a very solid path to winning his 4th ring. All right. I know it's not 6. I know it's not 6-0. We've talked about this before. You know my thoughts on that. And that's one thing that, Gavin, you argue against. All right. But we're talking about Kawhi right now. We're not talking about LeBron. We're not talking about MJ. We're talking about Kawhi Leonard. He did not live up to what we thought he would. He is not the best player in the world. He struggled. He was human last night. Still a great defender, an excellent player. He's got 2 Finals MVPs. Okay. He had Tim Duncan. He had arguably the best coach in the world, possibly the second best, behind Phil Jackson. All right. There's a lot of talent on that team. All right. And then Toronto, Nick Nurse obviously is doing something right. Obviously, those role players are good because they got as far as they did. They pushed it to Game 7 against Boston, who's more than likely going to go to the NBA Finals, despite what happened last night. And Gavin, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Kawhi Leonard is not on that tier. Well, he one day he could, but he wasn't last night. Okay. Because Michael Jordan has taken scrubs to the first round. I mean, he's had Paul. He's had when he went to the finals, he had Scottie Pippen. All right, so he had good role players. LeBron James took a team with no 2-second star to the NBA Finals his first time with the Cavs. You have Paul George. You have one of the best coaches. Everything's going right for you. And it's not that he averaged like 35 points in this series and lost the same way that LeBron and Michael have. Michael had a lot of great points when he got knocked out in the first round. No one talks about his stats there. Kawhi struggled in the series significantly. Paul George actually was the better all-star in this series until last night. All right? That's the reality of the situation. It is disgraceful that Kendrick Perkins thinks that it is even close to fair to compare Kawhi Leonard to Michael Jordan.
Well, Zach, first of all, I don't disagree with you. Today, LeBron James is the best player in the world right now. No Kevin Durant. Obviously, Giannis got knocked out, and the disappointing Kawhi Leonard. First off, another thing I want to go off of is LeBron James will never surpass Jordan. All right, legacies, errors, differences. We can always go by that, right? The one thing I will say this, Zach, is this. The fact that people actually listen to Kendrick Perkins that's horrible. All right, Kendrick Perkins is arguably one of the worst analysts. If you want to call him an analyst, Zach, I don't know what you want to call him. He just says crazy things or idiotic things that give him airtime. All right, you look at Marcus Spears on Get Up with Ryan Clark. They say things that you're like, oh well, you know what? They're not wrong. They have a point about it. You know, but when Kendrick Perkins hops on Up or hops on First Take, or when he goes on the jump, everything he says makes no sense. Anyone that was trying to talk Kawhi Leonard and Michael Jordan, you're crazy. They're not in the same breath. Last time I checked, Zach, they're not in the same level. All right, Kawhi may be 3 levels behind, 2 levels to be exact, 2 or 3. I don't know. There's a lot of people ahead of him. I'm not gonna get deep into detail about how far he is behind. Ladies and gentlemen, to say Kawhi Leonard's Michael Jordan, that's, first of all, that's an insult to a lot of people. Kobe Bryant. You know, Kobe Bryant. And then obviously, now coming from a guy that doesn't think LeBron James is, you know, eye to eye with Jordan, because in reality, in my opinion, I don't think so. If you want to talk about, you know, ever since the 2010s to now, then yeah. But like Rondell said, and Trent said too, it's about the different eras. You got to think about the different eras of different games. Michael Jordan was the 90s. Kobe Bryant was the 2000s to the 2010s. And LeBron was 2010 to now. So you got to put that in perspective. But to go back to Kendrick Perkins, why do we keep giving this man airtime? You know, Zach, that's like that's the worst thing I ever heard in a long time. But I do agree with you, Zach. A healthy Kevin Durant arguably is the best player in the world.
No doubt. But I think the problem today, we've gotten to the MJ comparison. Talking about LeBron, again, this isn't a go conversation. We're not having that right now. We both know our thoughts on that. We've talked about that extensively. We bring a lot of guests on. We talk about it. But there's people who genuinely think Kawhi is better than LeBron. Even LeBron doesn't fold in Game 7 like that. Especially if LeBron had Paul George, honestly, it's over, man. I mean, I think Anthony Davis over Paul George, but Paul George is no slouch. Someone's got to elevate something. And it's not that you just have him. Honestly, Gavin, which supporting role would you take, or supporting team? Would you rather have the Clippers and their bench and their coach, or the Lakers and their bench and their coach? If you're 2 superstars, right? So you take away LeBron and AD, you take away Kawhi and Paul George. I'll tell you this right now: you swap out Kawhi with LeBron James, that Clippers team has no problem getting through, even with Paul George, because he'll find the open shooters. He'll do his job. All right. And again, this is not the GOAT debate. We're just talking about this era. We're sticking to this era. That's what we're talking about. Okay. If you put Kawhi on the Lakers, there's no guarantee, because you need someone. I mean, Danny Green you can't count on him nonstop. You couldn't even count on him when he was in Toronto with him, right? Rajon Rondo's been nice. Like Kuzma, like they drop casually 15 points. One player every night for LA the Lakers casually drops 15 points. And LeBron records the assists, right? Kawhi didn't have a single double-digit assists game in the second round. That matters. It really does matter, because your supporting staff needs to be better. And it's definitively obvious that the Clippers had a much better team outside of their 2 superstars than the Lakers. I had the Clippers winning the NBA Finals this year. Again, I've talked about the Lakers. I've been happy they've done as well as they did. But if it was Lakers and Clippers, Gavin, I would say it on the show with you. I've said it here before. You can check the recordings. I've said Clippers are the better team. I think playoff LeBron's different, but the Clippers are the better team Frank Vogel, Doc Rivers. Without a question, Doc Rivers. He has 2 assistant coaches that can be head coaches on championship teams. As a matter of fact, one of them has won an NBA Finals. And with who? Not Kawhi, LeBron James. Okay, so what does that say about him, too? You got
He would have knew how to shut down LeBron James.
You got Doc Rivers. You got his entire supporting staff. You got Landry Shamet coming off your bench. You got the 6th man of the year and the former 6th man of the year on your bench. You got Zubac, who made his money, right? He's getting paid a lot of money to do his job. You have all of these factors on the Clippers. And the fact that you couldn't get it done, you don't have to travel. And then have to go back and forth between Denver and there with the high altitude. You didn't. You're in comfortable Florida. You get plenty of rest, right? You don't got to travel. You're up 3-1. You are up 3-1. You're telling me you can't put the hammer in for one more game. You had 3 opportunities to do it, all right? The Golden State Warriors series, all right? Draymond gets suspended, right? And then you have 80-something
Curry gets ejected the next game
between Kyrie and LeBron. In this series, what happened? You just lost games. We had the lead in all 7 of them. You had the lead in all 7 of these games in the first half at some point, even the second half. And you blew the 3-1 series. It's definitively obvious the Clippers have the better team. And Kawhi failed them. LeBron has not failed his team with the Lakers.
Well, Zach, I want to go back real quick, if you don't mind. I want to go back to the switching stars, right? If you put Kawhi Leonard, you switch LeBron. I'm not even talking about Paul George or AD. You switch Kawhi Leonard and Anthony and LeBron James. I think LeBron James has an even better time with the Lakers, with the Clippers. Zach, he has shooters around him. Yes, because I don't want to say consistent shooters, but yes, shooters.
Better team. It's a better coaching staff.
Better team around him. You put
better defensively.
Yeah, the thing with Kawhi Leonard is he's not a great 3-point shooter. He's a mid-range guy, all right? He's a mid-range guy, and then you got a guy like AD. Now, if you want to talk about if you switch the roles entirely, keep the same team, but switch the stars, I would say, I'll be honest with you, Zach. If LeBron and AD were on the Clippers, Lord have mercy, that would be the NBA would be ruined. You would be asking for the Golden State Warriors to get Kevin Durant back. You will be asking for another star to go join someone in the West just to make the West look compete. What's the word?
Fair.
Yeah, Zach. It's a shame how a team like the Clippers, well coached too, like you said, Zach,
best bench in the league.
Best bench in the league, arguably best bench in the best, arguably one of the best defensive teams too.
Probably the best defensive team. I don't know if statistics back it up, but you got Patrick Beverley, you got all of these guys around you that can make it work. Paul George, obviously. Kawhi Leonard, probably the 3rd or 4th best defender in the league, probably the best defender in his position. Marcus Morris, you picked up. He's a fantastic acquisition. He was the best 3-point shooting power forward when he was traded. And you got Montrezl Harrell, Zubac. You have Montrezl Harrell, who's a great defender. You have Lou Williams off your bench, who's a great scorer. He missed an easy layup last night. All right. Kawhi couldn't elevate his team the way that LeBron James has before. And again, I know we're not trying to compare as far as the GOAT conversation, but for the sake of the eras and for the sake that going into this year, most people told you that Kawhi was better than LeBron. LeBron was hurt last year, man. I mean, I know Gavin, we talked about this before. I mean, there's not much excuses for that. I don't think I should diminish him at all. It was his first year with a new team. You know, Luke Walton was not the best coach, whatever. You know, everything from that is concerned. But bottom line is this year he bounced back, right? This year you got yourself a superstar in a big trade. You gave up a lot for him. And you lost a lot of key pieces on it. Remember, the Lakers were basement dwellers. The Sixers beat them by like 40 last year in that game in LA. Brandon Ingram, arguably most improved player. Lonzo Ball, who's really stepped up his game. Josh Hart, a great bench player. You gave away a lot to bring in a coach who was not necessarily the best one available on the market, but the best fit they thought. You bring in Anthony Davis, who's coming off of injuries and had a lot of issues with the front office in New Orleans, which can be a concern for a lot of teams. And you got LeBron James coming off of an abundance of injuries. He had his pops groin. He had a few other issues that he was playing through, and they decided to shut himself down at the end of the year. You had a lot of factors going into this year, Gavin. A lot more adversity, I'd say, than the Clippers had. The Clippers had it easy. Kawhi saw LAU. I want Paul George to go get him. All right, we'll give away pretty much everything we have for him. You got a great bench, great coach. So, I mean, it's just a disgrace, man. I mean, 2 losses the Lakers had. 2 losses in the first 2 rounds. The Clippers had, 3, 7 or 6? I think 6 losses total. I think they lost to the Mavericks twice. 6 losses, and they got knocked out. Says a lot, honestly, about your superstars, in my opinion, because the role players are there, right? Why did LeBron not win the finals, Gavin? You might argue this differently, but I'll say because he didn't have some of the role players that he needed once Kyrie left. And they even lost with him, but that's because you're going up against Kevin Durant. Right? I'm not going to make excuses, but it's a blunt fact that you need a supporting staff. And this was a much better team than in Toronto. So West is tougher. Props to the Nuggets. A lot of props to them. I thought the Utah Jazz were going to be the better team in that series, and I thought the Clippers were the better team. I mean, the Nuggets could beat the Lakers, and our conversation could be entirely different next week. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, but those are my final takes here on this series, and we'll continue to talk about it as more stories come out here if they make any moves in the offseason. But we thought they were the perfect team going in this year. Chemistry is an issue, obviously, but Kawhi did not step up when he needed to.
Final take for me is we need to revisit what happened in the bubble. Paul George said he couldn't get it going. LeBron said the same thing. LeBron got it going. Paul George, you were arguably, back in the day, Zach, I find it funny. Frank Vogel, the coach of LeBron James right now, was the coach of Paul George when they had Lance Stevenson, when they had George Hill, and when they had a Roy Hibbert, and then there was ultimately Paul George was the centerpiece. Took LeBron and the Miami Heat to 7 games. Game 7. And they did it to him twice. What happened?
Who won both of those?
And that's the real playoff, P. What happened to him? My final takes.
Without a doubt, a lot going on. The Raptors easily would have won the finals with Kawhi this year. That's just my thoughts. But pressure was on him. Didn't do it when he's the guy. He was the guy last year. I mean, you obviously had another All-Star there in Kyle Lowry, but this year expectations were there. He did not live up to it. But with that being said, coming up after this, as I predicted, the Miami Heat taking a win from the Boston Celtics. Do I still have the Celtics win the series? You'll find out that and more after this. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewer's choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. All right, Gavin. I said it yesterday. I said I think the Heat are going to take game 1, but I think the Celtics are going to win the series. The Celtics looked a lot better than I thought they would. It took a Bam Adebayo block, which was spectacular, by the way, to win that game for the
block of the century.
But I think the Heat are still not going to win the series. I think it's going to be 5 games or 6 games. But I'm very impressed with Miami, and they continue to blow my expectations out of the water. Again, it's not anything against them. It's just I think that Boston's a better team. You get Gordon Hayward back, it's going to be hard to be able to beat that team. But Gavin, what are your thoughts on the Heat taking the 1-0 lead? Because you had the other one. Like that. You have Boston winning the first game, but you have the Heat winning the series. So that might even be good for you.
Well, Zach, I will say this. This series is going to be fantastic. Last night showed it. Ladies and gentlemen, for those that didn't get to see end of regulation, let me break it down for you. Jimmy Butler hits a 3, right, Zach? Jimmy Butler hits it. Okay, Jason Tatum has a chance to win the game, doesn't do it, go overtime. Jimmy Butler hits a free throw, gets an M1, hits a free throw. And correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, allergies are running through my mind right now. Jason Tatum runs down, tries to dunk, gets by Jimmy Butler, arguably the best defender, gets by Butler, goes up and gets blocked by Bam Adebayo, arguably
clean block, all ball,
huh?
all ball.
Cardiac Kemba, or as I like to call him, the best fit on that team. But Cardiac Kemba comes out and says, I got to play better. He's not shooting that well. He's not. He hasn't shot well at all in the bubble during the playoffs. But
no, they've asked him to shoot a 3 a few times. Hasn't been able to do it. Mid-range, we know he's good, but
yeah, 3-point. Yeah, 3-point. Yeah.
Marcus Smart's been great though.
But Zach, I will say this though about last night's game. You say Boston in 5, right?
I'd say 6 right now.
Boston in 6. Anything past 5, I think Miami gets it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do win in 5. Maybe 7 because arguably you can't count out Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker, but this Miami Heat team is so good and well coached. Why can't the Sixers be like that?
I wish.
Jimmy Butler,
even Duncan Robinson had a really off night too, which is going to be big too. He's not going to be like that every night.
Gordon Dragic had 29 points too. It's fantastic. You're getting help from Gordon Dragic out all people.
Yeah, you're getting help from the bench. That's what matters. Great coaching. That's a sign of great coaching, Gavin.
Great sign of great coaching. It's going to be, Zach, like I said, it's going to be a great series all around. I'm excited to watch this one. The next one, I'm not too sure about.
Without a doubt, we'll have to see what happens. But now, Gavin, finally, they break their losing streak. They go up against a team that's not Miami, and they have no problem winning. 4-1, Jake Arrieta suffered an injury, still got the win. We're going to hear more on him. He said we expect to be back for the playoffs. Doesn't sound good, which is less than a month away, honestly. But, Gavin, what are some of your takeaways from the 4-1 win last night? DJ Gregorius continues to be great. Kingery's back in the lineup, still struggling. But what are your thoughts on the game?
We have bases loaded for the Mets, right? P. Alonso strikes out. Lovely. We end up getting a double, right? A double, 2-run double, 2 RBI double. And we ended up scoring on that, like I said. And then you give up a home run from Jake Arrieta. Here's the thing. Also, Jake Arrieta leaves last night's game with a hamstring problem too, Zach. Here's my takeaway from that. This is not the time to be. It's hard for the Phillies right now. They're losing people and they're still trying to win. Where the hell is Bryce Harper? Where is he?
He has not been good at all. I'm pulling up his stats right now as we speak. But the Phillies right now, Gavin. What's that?
Is he playing? I don't think he's playing.
He is. He's what? His batting average at 252 right now. He hasn't had a hit. He had 2 against Miami in their last 5 games. No hits last night. It's tough. And right now the Phillies are sitting at 4 games back of the Braves, a half game behind Miami, and 3.5 games behind us is New York. So we got to have this sweep, Gavin. We got to go on a hot streak again. Got to be consistent. This team's got to be consistent. That's what's important for this team. That's what we need. Playoffs are around the corner, man. We got very few games left. Make them all count.
It's hard to go on a hot streak when your hottest hitter and Rhys Hoskins is out. Maybe Tommy John. You don't know. You don't need it to throw because he's the first baseman, but you need it to grip a bat.
No doubt. So we'll have to see what happens. We'll get updates on Rhys Hoskins as it continues. He's on the 10-day IL right now, so we'll have to figure that out. But coming up after this, a shocking turn of events in the Eastern Conference Finals in the NHL. Could the Islanders find a way to pull back and actually win this series? That's our final topic of the day coming up after this.
Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
And a fun fact before we start, Gavin, do you know who statistically has the best defense in the NFL right now?
It's not Baltimore because I want it to be.
Based on yardage.
Steelers? I actually don't know this one.
You'll never guess, honestly. I just learned this morning. It is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles only giving up 239 yards in their first game. They are the best ranked defense in the league. For those who might be confused from the score, remember number 11 gave away the ball 3 times in short field, so there's no shocker there. But Gavin, the final topic of the day, the Islanders in overtime, pulling out with a win. They're going to be playing Game 6, I believe, tomorrow. I'm going to double-check that schedule right now against Tampa. Do you think Tampa's going to close this series out, or do you think it's going to be a series that could go to 7?
As a Flyers fan, it would be nice to see the Islanders go because it makes you remember, like, you lost to a team that went to the, Stanley Cup. Jordan Eberle, sorry if I butchered your name, but he scored a goal, and Ryan Pulock, if I did your last name too, sorry. They both scored goals, and Varlamov, if I butchered your name too, I'm sorry. He saved 36 shots out of 37. 1 goal in. That's fantastic. Zach, if the New York Islanders that came out to beat the Flyers show up in Game 6 and 7, if there is a Game 7, they will win this one. I would love to see Tampa do it because it would make a better storyline, Tampa versus Dallas. But New York Islanders, there's a chance. There's a chance they could do it. I mean, hell, 3-1 leads happen in basketball every day now, thanks a lot to the Clippers. And so I don't see why it can't happen in hockey.
It's easier in hockey. It just is statistics back it up that it's easier. But I am taking the the Tampa Bay Lightning. Had my storm terms mixed up there, but I think that the Lightning will end up winning this year in 6 games and then go up against Dallas, and that's going to be a great series. No matter who is in it from the East, it's going to be a great series. Dallas is ready; they're waiting.
I think I got Islanders tonight, but I do got the Lightning winning in 7 it's 6.
All right, we'll see what happens. That does wrap up the NHL. We're going to see if we can get Chris on either later this week or next week to talk about off-season plans for the Philadelphia Flyers. I've been reading a lot. He's been very active on Instagram. We're going to take a look in more. But, Gavin, a final thing I do have for today, we did not get a chance to talk about it earlier, but the Western Conference Finals, it is the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers. You've been betting against the Lakers this whole time. Is that trend going to continue, or are you going to be changing your mind here?
Is this actually going to be the first team besides the Clippers that arguably might match up well versus the Lakers? I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to see LeBron.
They're going to have a small forward that can shut down LeBron, though. The center, honestly, I think that they're going to bring JaVale McGee back in. You'll have that 4-5 duo, but Jamal Murray is going to be hard to contain, especially when you have bad guard play from the Lakers. That's the only concern that I see.
If it gets to 7, give me the Nuggets.
Do you think that
the Nuggets?
Do they go down 3-1 at any point in this series?
You can't go 3. You can't go down 3-1 versus LeBron.
It's over at that point, you think?
LeBron finishes games. Unlike the Clippers, he finishes the games. You gotta go. If you go down 2-1, you gotta make it 2-2. You can't be down by you can never be down. You gotta either be up or tie.
Yeah, we got to see. And so any more news here? Lane Johnson is. I've been reading everything, Gav. I've been reading he's supposed to play. He might not. It's very fuzzy. If I have to go out on a limb, I'm saying Lane Johnson does not play this week, which, in my opinion, we lose to the Rams if we don't have Lane Johnson. But Jack Driscoll would get the start again. I hope he starts. I mean, today's Wednesday, so he's supposed to practice. Brandon Graham is still in concussion protocol. Sanders is practicing a lot. I mean, I just got to wait and see for the Eagles. It's just one of those situations where you got to wait and see. We'll see what happens. So I'm not going to make any thoughts on them right now. But anything else you want to say today before we wrap up today's show?
Richard Sherman's heading to the IR. Richard Sherman.
Yep. As if the Niners couldn't get any worse right now. Any word on George Kittle at all? Is he out?
I think George Kittle might be in. I think he's in for right now.
Because I have him in fantasy. I got to pick up someone else if he's not going to play.
And Marlon Mack is, if we covered this yesterday, Marlon Mack is out.
Good to go. George Kittle is going to be playing on Sunday. Man, that guy's tough.
And fantasy football, ladies and gentlemen, for anyone that wanted to know, I did lose to Waxman.
I think I won with one. Let's check the standings here as we go through here as we wrap up today's show. I'm going to pull up I've been on the app probably a million times. I'll probably count how many times I've opened it. But let me pull up here the more than Philly. I did win week 1, 144, Gavin, to 87. How about that?
Got lucky.
What, 144 points?
Yeah. Nick Krogdally. Shout out to Nick Krogdally. Most points scored this week versus the bye week. Okay, so your points don't matter, but you scored the most this week.
How many did you score?
He scored 166 or 167.
163, I think, here. Yeah, he had a good week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, first-round pick, picked up great for him. But, yes, here right now, the divisions are as currently reading in the Eastern Division. My team is in first place, 1-0. Don Amoroso second is also in first place, 1-0. Gavin, Team Fisher, and Team Betchick are all 0-1. And Team Waxman, Team Trent are 1-0. And then Matt, our third member, 0-1 in third place. And then Nick is 0-0. He is currently sitting at third place as well. This week I'm playing Team Betchick. Projected to win by about 40 points right now. Team Fisher against Team Crognali. Team Fisher is projected to win by 2. Team Gavin against Philly Pride, which is Dom. You are projected to lose by 1 point exactly. And then Team Waxman versus Matt is 123 to 119 Team Waxman. So those projections for this week, we'll cover those and more. Obviously, tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. Bengals and Browns, not going to be very exciting. But
who wants to watch that? Still, I'm protesting that game. No one wants to watch that garbage.
You're not watching it?
Heck no.
We got to talk about it tomorrow. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to try to get at least one more hour show this week, but tomorrow might be a half hour again. So just stay tuned, stay up to date, and we will see you all soon. It is getting cold out. Make sure you grab your sweatshirts on our website.
Allergy season, y'all, and flu season. Let's get our flu shots. Let's mask up and let's be smart. Allergies are killing your boy right now.
outside of the flu shot, we can sell all those things on our site with our brand on it. The sweatshirts and the mask. With that being said, everyone, thank you so much and have a great day.
Have a good day, y'all.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts